But it's not about quantity, it's not about numbers, it's about, as long as there's some people somewhere who've kind of making that, following the dream, the idea, which is what I want to talk about first, which is emergence. So it makes, all of this made me think about this issue around teachers and this idea of people thinking that what they're doing is right because their teacher did it. And again, this is the opposite. This is the opposite of the truth. It's like, it's not even kind of like a lie. It's like a trap that people get caught in, that they think like this because everyone else is talking like this in Chinese martial arts. I suppose in some ways it is like that in other kinds of Chinese martial arts, but there again. And the interesting thing is those martial arts like, let's say Chen Tai Chi, where you would think that this is the, you know, the primary case where you want to learn exactly from the teacher. Actually, they're a fantastic example of emergence, where if you look back, the earliest videos we've got of Chen Tai Chi are rubbish compared to modern elite level Chen Tai Chi. So the level of improvement over the past, 80 years is absolutely astounding. It's off the scale. People are so much better now. Chen Tai Chi has evolved so much in that period of time. Whereas in Yiquan, well, we've got two directions, haven't we? We've got one that's just gone into complete, absolute fraud. And that's not, I mean, it's very, very associated with Hanxing Yuan, I have to say, some of his students and some of those people. This is why, by the way, I don't care about, I do care, I appreciate that people subscribe. I think that's amazing that people do subscribe. I think people who do subscribe, some of them really like that I talk like this, and some of them just like the technical stuff that I teach. I recognise that, but that's why I never do all that stuff like and subscribe, because that's not what my project is about, and that's why, well, it's not worth monetising anyway. But nothing I do around Wushu is about money. It would be if it needed to be, but it isn't. So I never worry. I don't even know how many subscribers I've got. I never check anything like that. If you start worrying about things like that, then you start censoring what you say, and that's not what I'm about, and that's not what this mission's about. I'm thinking about the future. Do you know this thing where Wang Shengjai said, it will be 100 years before people understand what I'm talking about? I think like that, you know, I'm talking to people in the future mostly. But I do appreciate people who are getting something from it now. That is amazing. But it's not just the Hanxing Yuan people, and I'm not blaming Hanxing Yuan. I've said many times, I think his physical movement is absolutely elite level, no question. Some of the people associated with him, but it's by no means just him. And there's different ways of being frauds. Anyway, so what I've been seeing is a lot posted recently of this stuff where people are doing this very old school thing where they're doing this, where they drop the hands and do these big movements like this. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, if you watch this series, then you'll know that one of the reasons for that is it puts more volume in a technique, so it gives more power to it. And the idea always was make techniques smaller. So you take this movement, and Yao Zhongzun says, for example, constantly strive to make techniques smaller, but for the same or more amount of power. So you've got to move this big movement back into the body. And that's a higher level of cultivation. It can be done. You can take someone who's doing that and you can train them to do that, but it's also about cultural knowledge that's got to emerge over time, that people have got to realise step by step how this is done. That's the process that we call emergence, and that happens over generations. And you can even see now, like, even for the people who really kind of took that to heart, so I suppose the Yao brothers, they've got, you know, there's plenty of videos where they're punching and they're dropping their hands. So to try and get people to stop doing that is incredibly difficult once they've ingrained it in. You have to be getting punished, and you have to go through, you know, you have to be coached properly to stop doing that. But to get people to even accept that dropping your hands is stupid is just, it's unbelievably difficult, because people are like, well, that's how my teacher told me how to do it. And there's something else you see that's involved with that, and that is that a lot of those old Yiquan techniques aren't based on a kind of boxing thing where you're just hitting someone. They're based on moving someone's guard, like guard engage, hit them, disrupt their structure, and then while they're not braced, then hit them. That was the original idea behind Yiquan. I suppose I'll try and get to talk about that if we have enough time. I've seen quite a lot of videos like that, and those people thinking, well, the reason that you should do this is because my teacher taught me to do this, and they think like, well, that's what makes this orthodox Yiquan. And I suppose there's a couple of things there. One is like this idea of fixed techniques, right? So if you've got like, whether it's the Yao brothers, and they have different curriculums anyway, or you've got someone like Yiquan with his 12 punches and stuff like that, those are obviously fixed techniques. And if you don't know that, I've said it before, but if you don't know, Wang Xiangjia actually criticised his own students for doing this, for creating these curriculums like this. But everyone and I agree, you know, like actually you need those curriculums for people to be able to learn. But they are obviously fixed techniques, but there's another way of thinking about having no fixed techniques, and that's that the same technique can change over time, over generations. It can be improved. So it's not fixed. The way you do it isn't fixed. And I think, again, this is quite contradictory. And probably most people have never thought about it like this. That part of the process of emergence is that the same techniques become more cultivated over time and over generations. So the point here, the most contradictory thing is, your teacher is the number one enemy of a Wushu master. And I know that's highly contradictory, but it's not just that you learn every bad habit under the sun from your teacher, it's that your teacher is trapped in the past. Or, unless they're constantly evolving as well, but it's very difficult to change, and people lose the will to continually innovate and continually just, you know, once you've kind of done years and years of training, the thought of doing all that again, it's very difficult for people. Think about people like, you know, guitar players from the 1970s, rock bands. They could probably be as good as modern guitar players if they could be bothered, but why would they? They're already living in their mansions, they're already millionaires. So not everyone has that drive, and once you reach a certain age, I'm telling you, like the training is a lot harder, so people are happy with their level. It's up to younger generations to take what they've learned and then evolve it. So let's give another controversial example. We can see videos of Yao Zhongzhun's students sparring when they're quite young, maybe in their 20s, Thr3Treebase, the Yao brothers, Liu Pulei, a few others, and they're rubbish. You can see clearly that whatever it is they're learning, they can't bring it into live training. I mean, probably tough. I mean, they're having a ding-dong, so they're probably pretty tough, but they can't fight. Or they can fight in that sense that people who are used to having a ding-dong are better off than people who are not used to having a ding-dong. And if you don't know this phrase, that means having a fight. But they can't actually bring each one that they're learning with Yao Zhongzhun into the fight scenario, into the sparring scenario at that point in time. And this is part of a process of emergence on a personal level that everyone goes through. They're all at that stage in their training where they need to bridge that gap into live application. And actually that's not that hard to do. And unfortunately, we never see the video where they could do that. So that remains an open question. Then various other things start happening. So I saw one of the Thr3Treebase students who put onto this video, well, you know, like this is, you know, each one's not about fighting, it's about spiritual development. So that's the other thing that's going on at the moment as we reach this point where each one, as we know it, is kind of dead ending. It's kind of coming to an end in that sense of being all these people who are supposed to be promoting it because they can't actually demonstrate it in a live way. People going off in these different directions. So these are what we call the shamans at the end of the road, the shamans at the end of the road, who start talking about spiritual cultivation and this kind of thing. So the people who've been lying for 30 years about like thinking they're elite level and stuff like this, there's no spirituality in a lie. So you've got these guys who've gone down that direction. It's not just in each one. Then you've got the other guys. What it is like, they run out of things to teach because it's just, they can teach the basic curriculum that they learn, but they can't creatively take it further. They can't evolve. They can't explore the infinite curriculum because their level isn't real. So they just dead end. So then how do they keep making money? What do they teach? And also at that point where, how do you explain that you can never actually demonstrate this practically, right? What do you do? So they start going down these different roads.